All right, so continuing on with this P chapter, we're going to move along and we're going to start adding integers, right? And then the next few days are going to be subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, but we're going to take it one at a time. So we're going to start today with adding integers. So we'll start with a quick definition. So two numbers with a sum of 0 are additive inverses, right? So this kind of goes into the topic in the last section of opposite numbers. Right, when two numbers are opposite, they're additive inverses. All right, so when you add them, you get 0. And then like I said, addition of opposites, when you add two opposites, their sum is 0. Opposites are also called additive inverses when you add them together. So for example, if you have 1 plus -1, that's going to equal 0 because 1 and -1 are the same number, but they have different signs. The same thing with -1 plus 1, right? If you switch the order, still are additive inverses if their signs are opposite and they're the same number. So -1 plus 1 is still going to get you 0, right? And this is the case with any number, right? So if I have -12 plus 12, right? 12, the number 12 is the same, but one is negative and one is positive. All right, so this is going to be 0, and then you can switch the order. 12 plus -12, right? They're both 12, but one is positive and one is negative, and so you still get a sum of 0. Now we saw how useful number lines were when we wanted to graph and compare integers, but they're also equally important when we want to add positive and negative numbers that are not opposites, right? So positive number and a negative number. Let's say I have a 2 right here, or a -2. Let's start with -2. And I want to say maybe -2 plus 3. All right, this plus 3 is going to tell you to move 3 units to the right in the positive direction. 1, 2, 3. And then you end up at 1. All right, so this sum is going to get you 1. We'll get into more examples, but this is just an introduction. And then let's get into a word problem as our first official example. So let's see what it says. On the first play of their drive, a football team loses 8 yards. The next play, they gain 3 yards. What is their yardage for the team's first 2 plays? All right. Now, if a football team loses 8 yards, right, loses is a key word that you're going to have to make something negative, right? So loses 8 yards, that's why the first play we write at -8, all right? And if they gain 3 yards, right, so in the next one they gain 3, gain means something is going to be increasing, right? So we want to make it a positive 3, right? So that's why the second play is 3 yards. And if I want to find their total yardage, right, we're going to add first play plus the second play. That gives you the total yardage for the team's first 2 plays. Now, doing this example with the number line, right, like I said in the last section, we always want to start at 0. That's always a safe place to start. So start at 0 at this little star right here. And then to represent -8, we're going to move to the left 8 places, right? In the last section, we had said that negative moves in the left direction and positive moves in the right. So to the left 8 places from 0, you end up here at -8. And then starting at -8, so that was their first play, right? So in their first play, they ended up at -8 right here at this dot. And then in their second play, right, if they gained 3 yards, we said gain meant a plus, right? So gain means plus. So to add +3, right, so we're going to add a +3. We're going to move to the right 3 places. We had also said that moving in the positive direction is moving towards the right. So 1, 2, 3 units to the right from -8. We're going to end up at this orange star right here is going to be -5. All right. So their total yardage for the first 2 plays is going to be a loss of 5 yards, right? So -5 is the number that we use to represent that. All right, so that was one example of adding integers that are not additive inverses or are not opposites. Right, so in general, we can apply our addition rules, which are if they have the same sign, we want to add the numbers together. And the answer is going to have the same sign as each number that's being added. Right, so in this example, 3 plus 5 gets you 8. Right, 3 and 5 are both positive, so our answer is going to be positive as well. Right, 3 plus 5 gets you 8. And then the same with negative 3 plus a negative 5. Notice that they both are negative. I have a negative 3 plus a negative 5. They're being added to each other, so we're going to add them, the 3 and the 5. You get 8. And because they're both negative, I'm going to keep the negative with it. So your answers for this one is going to be negative 8. And now if the two numbers have different signs, you're going to take the bigger number and you're going to subtract the other one. All right, so your answer is going to have the same sign as your bigger number. So for example here, negative 3 plus 5. Well, this negative 3 has a different sign than this positive 5. One is negative and one is positive. So when that happens, we want to take the difference. Well, between 3 and 5, which one's bigger? It's going to be 5. So I'm going to write a 5 minus 3, since 3 is the smaller number, and then you get 2. Now between negative 3 and positive 5, right? 5 was our bigger number, so we're going to keep the sign of the 5. The 5 was positive, so our answer is going to be positive 2. Now similarly, if we switch signs, 3 plus negative 5, this 3 is positive, but this 5 is negative, right? Again, different signs, I'm going to subtract, same as before, 5 minus 3, right? We get a positive 2. But since 5 was our bigger number and the 5 has a negative in front, then our answer is going to have a negative as well. So that's why our answer for this one is negative 2. All right, and so here's what we can visualize for our rules for addition, right? So these first two here, you see a green plus plus a green plus, and then that just means a positive plus a positive gets you a positive. Similarly, with a negative, you get a negative plus a negative equals a negative, right? So with these, we're going to add and keep the sign. All right, and then for the next two, it doesn't matter what order they're in, right? If the signs are different, you're going to subtract the bigger number minus the smaller number, and you're going to keep the sign of the larger number. All right, and then we'll get into some examples now. All right, and then just real quick, right, just to briefly summarize the rules of addition in words, right? So if you have the same sign, you add and keep the sign. So for example, negative 3 plus negative 5 gets you negative 8. They're both negative, so we keep the negative. 3 plus 5, the 3 and the 5 are positive, so we get a positive 8. Now when the signs are different, you subtract and you keep the sign of the larger number, right? So for negative 12 plus 4, okay, well they have different signs. The 12 is negative and the 4 is positive. So we're going to do 12 minus 4, which gets you 8. But between 12 and 4, the bigger number is 12. And since 12 is negative, our answer is going to be negative 8. Similarly, if we have 12 plus negative 4, all right, they have different signs. The 12 is positive, the 4 is negative. So we're going to do 12 minus 4 equals 8. And then since 12 is our bigger number and it has a positive, our final answer is going to be a positive 8. All right, so getting into some examples just to finish this section off. All right, starting at number 1. If I have a negative 1 plus 4, first I'm going to ask, are the signs the same or different? Here they're different. I have a negative 1 and a positive 4. When that happens, we subtract. 4 minus 1 equals 3. All right, and then you keep the sign of the bigger number. 1 and 4, 4 is going to be bigger, right? And 4 is positive, so our answer is going to stay a positive 3. All right, and so for number 2, if I have a 7 plus a negative 3, All right, again, signs are different. The 7 is positive, the 3 is negative. So I'm going to do a 7 minus 3. All right, that's going to get you 4. And then between 7 and 3, 7 is the bigger number and 7 is positive. So our answer is going to stay a positive 4. All right, number 3. If I have negative 2 plus negative 2, they're being added, but they have the same sign, right? This 2 is negative and this 2 is also negative. When that happens, you add 2 plus 2, so you get 4. And then you keep the sign. The sign is negative, right? They're both negative here, so negative 4. And your answer is negative 4. All right, and so number 4, let's see. So we have a positive 6 and a negative 9, right? One is positive, one is negative. The signs are different. So I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 6, you get 3. Now between 9 and 6, 9 is bigger, and the sign on 9 is negative. So my answer is going to be a negative 3. All right. All right, so if you're going to handle bigger numbers, right, so far I've mostly given you 1-digit numbers, right? We're going to do it exactly the same way, right? Nothing changes here. Between 19 and 39, they have different signs. 19 is positive, negative 39 is negative. So I'm going to do 39 minus 19. That gets you 20. Now between 19 and 39, 39 is the bigger number, and the sign on 39 is negative. So your answer is going to be a negative 20. All right, 16, I'm going to modify, number 6, I'm sorry. Number 6, I'm going to modify a little bit. Let me just throw in an extra number because you might see some of these on your homework. So I'm going to say plus 12, let's say. If you have 3 numbers, then you just go from left to right. Right? So between negative 27 and negative 19, notice that the signs are the same. All right, so negative 27, negative 19. When you have the same signs, you add and you keep the sign. Right? Some of you might need to write it on the side. That's fine. Do the whole 27 plus 19. Write it out. So 7 plus 9, 16. And then 2 plus 1, 3 plus the 1 up top gets you 46. And since you get 46 and you keep the sign as negative, you still have to add this 12 on the outside. So I'm going to do negative 46 plus 12. Now negative 46 and 12 have opposite signs, so we want to subtract them. So I'm going to do 46 minus 12, right? Should get you 34. But since 46 is the bigger number, then you keep the sign on the 46. The 46 is negative, so our final answer is going to be negative 34. All right. The rest should be fairly simple from here, so give the last 2 a try. They're going to work out exactly the same, and you'll see ones on the homework that look exactly like these. Right? So nothing new, nothing surprising. Right? So give these a try.